What's going on? I want to talk to you today about shortages, but not food shortages. We're not talking about food shortages, or at least we're not talking about them in the store, in the grocery stores. Today, I want to talk to you about shortages and basically what you need to do when you find yourself trapped in this position of low inventory, empty shelves, what you set your sights on to go and purchase or go buy whatever you needed that day, and you get wherever you're going, or you get online and you check and see it's out of stock or back ordered, or delivery date delivery date to be determined. I want to talk about that. And I've experienced it multiple different times in multiple different ways, a lot of different purchases. And I've seen it at home with trying to buy food, water, and basic necessities, day-to-day necessities. I've seen it at the mall, going to buy clothing. My clothing is pretty simple, pretty basic. I think I actually wear the same thing in almost every video, regardless, not even thinking about it, just because all of my clothes are pretty much the same. But when I do want to go pick up a new pair of jeans, which will inevitably be Levi's 514s, those are my favorite, I'll just run to Macy's and try to pick up a pair on sale usually. And actually what I noticed the last time I went, they increased the price of them dramatically. I think it was like $65 or $70 a pair. And that was crazy. I would pay like 50 bucks, but then it was like they'd always have a deal where it was buy one, get one half off. So I'm getting two for 75. So basically I'm getting them for, less than 40 bucks a pair. And I'm okay with that because I like them, they're comfortable. They usually last a long time unless I do something really dumb. But usually they would make it, but if I want them to work, and work being construction, that's when I would typically mess them up. Get tar on them or something, get asphalt on them, or just put a hole in them. But with that being said, I've experienced shortages and delays and out of stock and back orders in construction as well. And with that, I've also experienced no price protection, which is unbelievable. And basically, I don't know if you've experienced this, or you may have experienced it, you didn't quite know what you were experiencing. But no price protection is basically you're going to order something that you need, and theoretically you're going to agree to buy it. You're probably not going to pay for it up front because you haven't received it yet, but you're going to order something you need, and today's price is, let's just say, for instance, let's just say this Porsche Macan behind me. Let's just say today's price is $60,000, depending on the spec you ordered or whatever. But there's no price protection. So essentially you're saying, hey, I'm gonna order this. I'm expecting to pay $60,000 today. However, we being the company you're buying it from, or the vendor or whoever, this would be a Porsche dealership in this instance, would say, well, we expect it to be available in 8 to 12 months. At that time, we will deliver it to you, and at that time, we will charge you what the price is. That is no price protection, because today you're expecting to spend $60,000, and when it shows up 8 to 12 months, if you're lucky, it could be $70,000, it could be $80,000. We don't know, but there's no price protection. So however high it goes is how high you're going to agree to pay for it. More than likely there's some form of deposit associated with it. And if at that time when it is available and you don't want to pay the new high price, you can forfeit it, but you'll also forfeit your deposit. Now, why does this, or what does this have to do with shortages? Well, in my experience of these things that have forced me to either not get what I want, or can't get what I want, or wait for long periods of time, I decided that I would do something different. Now, what did I do differently? And what can you do differently is the question, really. So let's just use this Porsche Macan again for an example. This Porsche Macan, this is a 2018, and I think I've had it for a few months now, 3-4 months maybe. And I'm sure that you are all aware, you've probably heard or seen somewhere about the Felicity Ace cargo ship that was transporting multiple expensive and exotic vehicles over to US ports to be received, go to dealerships, and then go on to whoever bought them. And among those were Porsche. They had Lamborghinis and Volkswagens and Bentleys and a few others, but Porsche was on there. They had a lot of cars that were on the ship, and it was burning. It burned, you know, for a few days before, you know, thankfully the entire crew was evacuated safely, but the ship continued to burn. Rescue efforts tried to like extinguish the fire, and then ultimately it just ended up sinking, taking all those cars down with it and bringing up a huge insurance claim for the carrier and the manufacturers whose cars were on the boat. But with that being said, that was like pouring salt on the wound that already existed in the market. Let's just say in particular, the automobile market, where there is a shortage of new cars. There's a shortage of used cars too, but there are very, very few dealerships with new cars on their lots for sale that you can just go look at and browse and decide to buy. Most of them are already sold. And then if there is anything left, it's probably something that's very undesirable, which is why it's still there for sale. But the new car inventory is continuously hurting as a result of the pandemic. As we try to come out of this pandemic, this post-pandemic recovery, we just keep hitting roadblocks, and that Felicity Ace was another one of them. But with that being said, the initial roadblock was more of like more of a labor shortage, sort of, because a lot of these cars are being held up at the ports, and they don't have the labor to actually receive these shipments and get them through customs and get them on to trucks, which is a shortage there, and trucker strike, and et cetera, et cetera. But the trucks take the cars to the dealerships or to the rail cars that then take them to their next destination before they hit the dealerships. But then you have the semiconductor chips, which just limit the amount of vehicles that can actually be finally completed for the chips that they need to operate all the electronics and different features that they're putting in it, which is kind of like an insult to injury, because the manufacturers are deciding that they want to sell their higher end models more than anything else because they're their most profitable. But in order to do that, they have to include more features, and more features mean more tech means more chips. So it's really like it's like a double-edged sword here. But that's a long version of the story to explain to you that when I went to go buy a Porsche Macan, my options were limited. I go to the dealership, and it's not, here's all we have to choose from, take your pick. They had like 3 at that particular dealership. I could have traveled the country and, you know, or at least my area, or maybe searched outside, you know, my radius across the country to find more. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm going to have to make a compromise. And that is what the shortages are about. I don't think that we are in any real situation day to day for most people in necessities where we come across instances where everything is completely gone. You know, even there was a time, I think, when you couldn't buy a PlayStation, a PS5. You couldn't go to the store and get a PS5, but you go online, you can get one, it costs you more, but they were still there. When we go to the grocery stores and we see empty shelves, 9 times out of 10, everything isn't gone. Maybe everything of that particular flavor or brand is gone, but there are alternatives, there are substitutes, and there are other stores as well. This is an alternative. This is a substitute. And the reason why I say that is because this Macan here behind me, I've actually modified. And the reason why I did that is because part of my compromise was getting something that didn't have the features that I wanted, But given the current condition of our commodities market today, you kind of gotta, either suck it up and wait or take what you can get. But if you have to take, or you decide to take what you can get, don't think that it can't be modified to be more of what you want it to be. And so in this particular situation, I would have loved to spec this out myself and get it exactly how I wanted, but I looked at it and said, you know what? It had a polished machine face wheel on it when I first got it, and I was like, I really wish it had, a black wheel on it. And I asked them if they could swap out the wheels with the other one of the 3 that they had on the lot, and they said, no, we can't do that. We're not allowed to do that. But I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, all right, no big deal. I'll just change the wheels. So that's actually what I did here. I took off the factory wheels and I got a new set and had those installed. And I'm very happy with that selection, that choice, and the outcome and the results. In addition, I don't know if anybody here is actually a Porsche fan. If you are, let me know. Drop me a comment. Or a Macan fan for that matter, because Macans have this special feature of what's called a door blade. And this down here is what they call a door blade. And when you order it, you have the option of a color matched door blade or black or carbon fiber. And in my particular instance, the car that I ended up buying had a color matched door blade, so it was white, and I really wanted the contrast. I really wanted the separation of the colors. So, I didn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think that's what the saying is. So I said, you know what? I'll take this, and I will, much like the wheel modification, I will modify the door blade to be black as well. And beyond that, this one is actually a GTS model, so it has air suspension, and I just added a module to it to lower the height. That's why it's sitting so low right now. It's not normally this low, but it's just a computer module that allows you to adjust the height. But at the end of the day, I was able to purchase the vehicle. It was the 80-20 rule. It was 80% of what I wanted and 20% of what I didn't, but I was able to make that 20% what I really wanted on my own, and it still works out just fine. So maybe in a future video, I'll give like a tour of it and you can see, and I'll show you how the module works. It's actually an app on my phone, so that's pretty cool. But the point of this is really that if you are facing shortages, if you're going somewhere and you're seeing shortages and you can't go get what you need or what you want, don't get upset, don't get discouraged, don't get frustrated, and don't panic. For sure, do not panic. What you need to do, or at least what I do, is take a step back, think about it, and say, hey, what else can I do here? What else could be done? What can I buy in place of this? What can I substitute here? What else can be used to get the job done? And go about it that way. I've seen it in construction. We do a lot of roof installations, and it requires a lot of insulation, foam insulation on the roof. And there's a period of time, there's still a period of time, still currently, it's very difficult to get this insulation. It's called ISO or polyisocyanurate. And it's coming back into a more reasonable lead time. But there was a period of time where you just couldn't get it. Some roof membranes, TPO, PVC, were hard to get. Even shingles too. Shingles were hard to get, especially special colors, black and weatherwood. Typically they try to keep that one rolling, but with limited raw material supply and limited labor, manufacturers decided to scale back and kind of just like push out their most voluminous ordered colors and styles. So what we had to do was we had to get a little creative, and we didn't just look at the situation and say, hey, look, we can't get anything we need to do the job that we need to do. What can we substitute? What can we use as an alternative to get it done? And that included, you know, some various changes of maybe instead of using a cedar or a hickory colored shingle, you go with a weatherwood or a charcoal, and you know, that's fine. Instead of going with a custom colored metal on some trim or coping or gutter or anything like that, we stick to, you know, the basic colors of, you know, black, white, medium bronze or something like that, just so everyone isn't completely delayed, the project doesn't come to a standstill, and you know, we can keep moving. Even with the insulation not being able to get polyiso exactly how we wanted it, we would even move on to using EPS, which is expanded polystyrene, or XPS, which is extruded polystyrene. We even went as far as using poured lightweight insulating concrete, and it worked also. On that particular project, we ended up going with a modified bitumen flat roof system. But at the end of the day, we were able to adjust and use alternates and find ways around the shortages that we were experiencing to still get what we needed done. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to say, I don't want you to focus on what's not available. I want you to focus on what is available and how you can use that in the time being until what you really want becomes readily available again. And you may actually, through this process, find some new products and new things that you wouldn't have tried otherwise, that you now realize are better than what you've been using before, and you like them more. You may just surprise yourself, basically. But that's my story for today. Do not panic. Do not fret. Do not focus solely on what's not there. Pay attention to what is there. Be a little bit more creative. Be a little bit more resourceful, and allow yourself the ability to alternate products, introduce substitutes, keep it moving, and you know, don't stop the show, basically. With that being said, I would still recommend that you do keep a good supply of necessities and essentials, and you know, not like panic buy or hoarding or anything like that, but if you do see something that you need that you haven't been able to buy regularly, pick it up and you know, store it. And maybe today's price is higher than normal. Maybe today's price is lower than normal. You might be surprised there. But at the end of the day, I think if you keep on with regular purchasing, regular buying when you have it, and storing, if you were to do the math, you would see that it kind of averages out. You pay a little more sometimes, you pay a little less sometimes, and it averages out to where it really kind of should have been all the time. And when you need it, it's there. And you have that pantry full, you have that garage full, you have that deep freezer full, you have, you know, you have a little bit of a stockpile. Don't panic. Substitute. Be creative. Introduce alternates, and you know, just keep it moving, because we are going to be in this situation for quite a while. But that doesn't mean we have to stop. It doesn't mean we give up. We just keep going, and we make the best of the situations that we have, and eventually things will get better. I don't know if they'll get back to normal, but they'll get better. But in the meantime, you know, if you see shortages, if you see empty shelves, don't panic, don't fear, you know, don't run for the hills, don't do all that craziness. This is not like the fear-mongering message here. It's take a step back, open your eyes, look around, see what else is going on, see what else you can use, see how you can get by for now. Because, you know, if shit does really hit the fan, we're going to find ourselves in these situations where we really do need to be resourceful more often than not, and really look around and see what we have available to us to use that we need, because everything's not available. So Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Hit me a comment. Appreciate it. If you made it this far, give the video a like. I would appreciate that. And thank you all so much for your support so far. I really do appreciate it. And I think we are nearing like 1,900 subs, which is crazy, unbelievable. So thank you guys so much. And if you don't mind, share the video, share the channel with some friends who might enjoy this type of content and this information, and maybe the dialogue back and forth in the comments. I would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.